Hey, what's happening, everybody? Today we are learning about the War of 1812. America fought in many different wars, but this was known as America's Second War for Independence. This was a war between the United States and Great Britain. Today I'm going to teach you some vocabulary, then I'll read the story, and then talk a little bit about the important people from that time that helped our nation of the United States of America gain its independence for the second time. So the story is called the War of 1812, and you can see there's a soldier there lighting off a cannon. Some soldiers marching into battle. This story includes, or this series, or this unit includes many different stories about battles and war. Some of them happen at sea. In that War of 1812, the navies were really important and played an important role in it. Another important thing that you'll learn about is the creation of the American flag. And this story also happens to have pirates in it. They play an important role in America gaining their independence. These pirates weren't necessarily what you would imagine a pirate to look like, but they were pirates nonetheless. You can see on our first page, there's some guys working on the dock, loading up some tea onto the old boats in a famous incident that was called the Boston Tea Party. Learning target for this story is I can retell key facts and details from this read aloud. By the end of this story, you need to be able to answer questions about who, what, when, where, and why. Your first vocabulary word is blockaded. Blockaded means to stop people or supplies from coming into or going out of a country. The British blockaded the ports so that trading ships could not reach the American merchants. Other words are blockade, blockades, and blockading. The next word is represent. Represent means to act or speak officially for someone. Your example is 2 senators are elected to represent each of the 50 states. Here's a picture of some senators. These are 5 U.S. senators. And if I didn't tell you already, this is an actual picture of a blockade where the ships that tried to get through got sank when they tried to cross the blockade. Seize. Seize means to use official power to take something. Julius Caesar was a Roman general who wanted to seize control of the Roman government. That means to take control of the government. Over here, you have a picture of something that just happened in the news recently, where some people tried to take control of a government. Your last word is trade. Trade means the act of buying, selling, or exchanging goods and services. Long ago, colonial farmers went into town to trade items they made or grew for items they needed. So here you have a farmer who's farming and growing crops, and he will trade those crops for other items that he needs. Let's get started. Who is the person in the picture? Almost everybody knows that's George Washington. He was the first president of the United States of America. Excuse me. And he plays an important part in this story. In this story, you will learn about many famous leaders who helped our country during the War of 1812 and gain its independence. You will learn about the authors of the Constitution. You will learn about the presidents during this time at war? James Madison. You'll learn about his wife, Dolly Madison. You'll learn about the first house that the president and first lady, Dolly Madison, lived in, called Montpelier. This was a house before the White House was around. This picture shows a famous battle between the British and the American Navy. This is a famous warship that was nicknamed Old Ironsides. Its sides were so durable that they deflected cannonballs right off of the side of the ship. It was named the Uss Constitution. And here you have another picture of a famous battle between the United States and the British navies. And George Washington. This is an interesting part of the story. So this is the White House that was burned down initially. It was attacked, and the British were actually able to burn it down. This is the White House today. And the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. All right, let's get started with our story. Oops. From 1775 till 1783, America fought Great Britain for independence. This conflict was called the Revolutionary War. Against all odds, that means unlikely, against all odds, America won. What had been the 13 original colonies officially became the United States of America. After gaining independence, the American people did not want kings or queens governing them anymore. Americans wanted to create a new kind of government. They wanted to be able to elect individuals to represent the people and act with their best interests in mind. They wanted a government that was by the people and for the people. To help create a new form of government, several elected leaders met in Philadelphia in May and June of 1787. Some leaders who could not attend, such as Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, wrote down their ideas. Together, this group of leaders became known as the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers' ideas came together in a document called the United States Constitution. The Constitution became a framework for the American government. A man named James Madison had a clear vision of how the United States should govern itself. James Madison is known as the father of the Constitution because he put all of the ideas together by writing the Constitution. With the help of George Washington, he also became the fourth president of the United States. For many years, after the Revolutionary War, the United States grew larger and wealthier. The new states such as Vermont, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, and Louisiana were added. New territories were also settled. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson purchased the Louisiana Territory from France. This purchase more than doubled the size of the United States. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, France and Great Britain went to war against each other. This series of wars became known as the Napoleonic Wars, named after the French leader at the time, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte wanted to make France the most powerful nation in the world. Great Britain was determined to stop him. The United States considered both France and Great Britain to be its friends. It did not want to get involved in any of these costly and destructive wars. Even though the Napoleonic Wars were being fought all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, they greatly affected the United States. Much of the United States' growth during this time depended upon trade with France and Great Britain. Great Britain and France received sugar and coffee and cocoa from other countries. Both countries wanted to stop the other from trading with the United States. They each also tried to prevent the other from getting money and supplies. They also did not want the United States to choose sides. To keep the French from trading, with the United States, the British blockaded or blocked several U.S. ports. They also blocked several important ports in Europe. This seriously hurt the U.S. trade. France and Britain both had large naval fleets positioned in the Atlantic Ocean to attack each other's ships. To make matters worse, the British and the French began to seize or capture American ships loaded with valuable cargo. It became almost impossible to safely transport goods from the United States to foreign ports. It was also more and more difficult for Americans to receive much needed goods. Merchant ships weren't the only ships on the sea. The United States and Great Britain also had navy ships. Life in the British Navy was not easy. Conditions on their Navy ships were terrible and punishments were harsh. Because of this, the British Navy had a hard time finding men who wanted to be sailors. To get more sailors, the British began to capture men from other countries' ships and force them to join the British Navy. Sometimes these sailors were British deserters. However, more times than not, the sailors that were seized weren't even British. But that did not stop the British from doing it. They even seized many U.S. sailors. Then this practice of forcing the men into the British Navy was called impressment. Impressment doesn't mean to impress somebody. It meant that sailors were forced to work for the British Navy or another